Hey guys, going from the age of 30 to the age of 40 is one of the biggest life-changing stages of life. I remember turning 30 and thinking to myself, oh man, I feel so old. And the future felt so uncertain. You know, what would the future bring? What might my 30s look like? What will my career look like? What about having children? What about settling down? And all these things. There was so much I had to think about and felt very uncertain. But now, at this stage of my life, me and my friends are getting to that stage where we're all turning 40. And I'm back thinking again, oh my God, wow, like 40? Like what? This is proper uncle stages of life. Because I remember thinking back to my uncles when they were 40. I used to think, oh my God, these guys are too old. So I went and looked at Google Photos and I looked at my photo exactly 10 years ago from now. And I haven't changed that much at all. But I can tell you a lot has changed in my life in a decade. Yeah. So for today's video, I want to just share the biggest life lessons I've learned in my 30s. With the hope that if you're turning 30, this can give you some comfort, almost give you some life hacks to navigate your 30s. Or if you're in your 40s, you know, you can kind of like vibe with me and tell me how you feel about kind of getting to that stage of life. But either way, if you're enjoying today's video, please hit that subscribe button, show some love and some support for our channel. And while you're there, hit the like button as well. So I've made some notes here. So the very first lesson, number one, is this. Whoever watches the wind will not plant, and whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. Okay? This is a biblical quote that I took, a saying, but I wanted to speak to it specifically because it says so much about what I've learned in my 30s. Now, the key thing to realize is that if you're in your 30s, is to realize that I think of your 30s as your planting season. Yeah? Your 30s is when you need to be sowing those seeds. And I'm talking here about good seeds that could then turn into, you know, fruit in the future. So here I'm talking about investing, taking risks, doing unusual things that could turn out to benefit you down the line, either late in your 30s or maybe later on in your 40s or even further down the line. I know for certain that a big thing that I started to struggle with in my early 30s was comparing myself to other people. And I think that's why I chose this saying, which is whoever watches the wind. The wind is like comparing yourself to other people. So the key learning here is don't compare yourself to others. Don't watch the wind. And the clouds in that saying, whoever looks at the clouds is like looking at the economy. You're always watching every single move. You're always watching every bit of news. You're always watching every movement. The more you do stuff like that, the more you become paralyzed and actually don't act at all. Yeah. So don't watch the wind. Don't watch the clouds. Take some risks in your 30s, yeah? And doing that is what got us to where we are today in our lives, where as I make this transition in my life, I feel quite comforted that I took sufficient risks that has got us to where we are financially at the moment, okay? That's number one, all right? Number two is people want you to remain just like them in their comfort zones. That's right, all right? Let's talk about it. Now, in your 30s, people will start to settle down. You start to look around you and everybody's settling down. You're like, what's going on? But that's because that's what tends to happen. Societal expectations and lots of pressure and stuff like that. You know? And with that settling down comes not just settling down in like, I found myself a partner or I'm having children. It's also settling down in the mind. A lot of people start to get comfortable. Yeah. So what then starts to happen is that they give up on their dreams and start to expect you to do the same. I'm laughing because I've learned some really hard lessons when it comes to this point, because what then starts to happen is if you start to break out to try to do other things, yeah, like for example, I had a career in finance. I trained as a chartered accountant. I worked my way up to become chief financial officer. All my friends, all my peers, they're all the same. All aiming for the same things. All aiming for C-level, aiming for six figures, aiming for all these things. But the minute I started to do things that were slightly unconventional, like for example, doing the humble penny and many other things we're doing, which you haven't even heard about yet. The minute we started doing those things started to change. I started to notice a shift in my friendships. In fact, I started to notice that people, the impression they had was that we had moved on. That Mary and I had moved on. That they can't compare, like we're now on a different level that they can't compare to anymore. And that meant that our friendships actually became much more almost solitary. Like there were only now a handful of people who were willing to then remain as friends and engage in the normal way. In fact, we go out of our ways to try and engage with some of the friends we had in the past, but a lot of those friendships have shifted. So essentially what I'm saying here is people will always want you to remain like them, in a place of safety, in a place of comfort. But as soon as you start to dare and break out and dream and actually do what you want to do, not what people expect you to do, you will start to find that things start to shift around you. Yeah, your friendships shift. It might even become a bit more lonely in your life. In fact, I had my dad come over. My dad is in his 70s. He came over yesterday, was sitting in the kitchen talking about it. He said to me exactly the same thing. My dad is an overachiever for his generation, and he said exactly the same things. His friends, he's lost a lot of his friendships because he's gone on to do things that were outside a lot of his friends' comfort zones. And that made me think this is the normality of kind of progressing through life. And this is a challenge I had in my 30s. All right. Next one is that having children changes your financial destiny forever. That's right. All right, look. Background. Mary and I have got 2 kids. Okay. Our children are at the moment, aged 10 and 8. Okay. Now, the one thing I can tell you for sure is that having children has meant that we are tired a lot of the time. So not just tired physically, but tired mentally. And you have a lot of responsibility as a result of having these children. Now, this is the thing. It's not all bad news though, because it does 2 things. The first possibility is that you quietly give up. You're just like, you know what? I've had kids, so I'm now going to live my life through my children. So you see some people, they give up on their dreams and they start to live through their kids. Yeah? The second outcome is that it makes you super determined to make it. Whatever making it looks like for you. And this is what I found with us, is that it made us so determined to not only make it for ourselves, but to teach our children how to make it for themselves. For themselves. Yeah? So one thing I'd say for sure is that in addition to how it changes your how you act, the level of activity you have in your life, the one thing having children also does is that it changes your money goals. Yeah. So your money goals might be a bit slower in achieving, you might be a bit slower depending on how you choose to go in those 2 paths I mentioned. But the key thing I wanted to say to you, almost as a reassurance, is that that's actually okay. It's actually okay for your money goals to be, for you to achieve them a bit slower, but for you to understand that money is not really everything. Money is just like, it's a tool, it's a part of the journey. And depending on how you prioritize the need for family life and that kind of stuff, if I had to advocate, I'd say that those should be your core priorities. So getting your money right is super important, hence why we have this channel, but the money should be the tool that's helping you to then design those core elements of your life. But make no mistake, having children changes your financial destiny forever. Forever in capitals. All right, next one. The choices you make about your lifestyle will determine how hard you work and for how long you will work. Now, I say this one because a lot of us, I say us, whether you are, no matter your kind of ethnic background or your journey or whatever, we just copy each other. We're social creatures. We relate to each other. We look at each other. Like I might say to you that I'm doing something. And I'll give you an example. Like I shared once on Instagram. I shared this hourglass. I was using it to explain something, to a concept on Instagram. And I had a number of DMs. People were like, oh, where'd you get the hourglass from? Where'd you get it from? I wanna get one. So you see, it's very easy for us to want to do what other people are doing. Yeah, we copy each other a lot. Very, very easy. Whether it's actively or whether it's consciously or unconsciously. So my point here is we also in the same way copy each other's lifestyles. And you have to be careful about that. Because the lifestyle you choose, whether it's that you choose to send your kids to private education, whoo, big topic, boy. Video below and above, watch the video that we've made about this. Whether you choose, where you choose to live, whether you choose to buy a house or to rent, whether you choose to, how much you're spending on stuff, you know, things day to day, takeaway. All those choices will determine how long you're working and how hard you work in your 30s. And how long you carry on working in your 40s and beyond. So my point here is simple. Be intentional about your lifestyle choices and question everything. Question every decision you're making about your finances. Next one is, things won't go how you expect, but they'll go in the direction of your aim. I'll give you some background. In the last 10 years, and you will have been on this journey with me, so you know, in the last 10 years, we've seen recessions. We've seen a global pandemic. Yeah? Did you see that coming? Nah. No one did, right? And we have day-to-day things. You turn on your smart device, your smartphone. The world is trying to tell you how bad things are out there. There's always stuff going on. Yeah? Everything is there to bring you down or keep you where you are, basically. Yeah. The key thing I'd say when it comes to this, and I've noticed in my 30s, is that it all comes back to how well you're able to deal with setbacks when they happen. Yeah. And to what extent you have the mindset to recover when you deal with those setbacks. Yeah. So the general point here is in your 30s, the goals you have you wouldn't achieve them exactly as you set out to achieve them. But if you have a broader aim for your life in your 30s and you focus on that aim and don't get deflected from it, or even if you get knocked down, you recover from that setback, you will end up somewhere near that aim you've got for your life rather than too far away from it. So for example, we set out to become financially free and we got there. Yeah, we didn't get there exactly how we wanted. We had to stay flexible and jump various hoops and do various things. But we got to where we wanted. And we didn't get there when we wanted, but we got there eventually. But the key thing is that we had a goal. So for you, what is it you're aiming for? Make it very crystal clear and just prepare yourself that you wouldn't get there how you expect to get there, but you get close to the general direction you're aiming for. All right. Next one is, if you focus 100% on your finances, focus 200% on your health. All right, I'm about to talk about something very, very personal. Now, this shouldn't shock you, but it's a reality I've come to see and experience, which is that not everybody who starts off life in their 30s actually makes it to their 40s. Not everybody who starts actually does. And this is a very personal and very painful topic for me because, anyway, I lost a family member 5 months ago now, and it's very difficult to deal with. It's very difficult to process, and it's very difficult to it's very difficult to even think about that you might start your 30s and you might not make it to your 40s. My brother-in-law passed away when he was 39, and we were all going to celebrate 40th together. Sorry. I'm just saying this to say, you know, your health is very important. I saw a show recently called 100 Year Life, and it was very interesting watching that show. And the show focused a lot on vitality, the importance of vitality, the importance of removing worry from our day-to-day lives, the importance of eating well, the importance of us keeping moving. They were interviewing these people who'd lived to 100 years old in Japan, for example, also in Italy, in Sardinia. And one particular thing that jumped out was this concept of ikigai, which is this focus on purpose and having something that you are aiming for in your life. And I think it's very important to have something that we're aiming for in our lives, a sense of purpose. And your 30s is a good stage of life to begin to develop that, to begin to ask yourself, like, what do I think I'm pursuing more generally in my life? What is it that gives me that sense of purpose? But the key thing is the one thing that underpins all of this, whether it's your finances, whether it's your sense of purpose or anything of that nature, is to what extent your health is in a good condition. So sorry I got a little bit emotional with that point, but it's just a very difficult point for me because, yeah, you expect to live, to live long, and you pray to God that you live long, but nothing really guarantees that. So yeah. Okay. The next point, I've got this last point and then I've got my bonus point. This point is stop talking and start doing. Or if I had to rephrase it, it's keep your goals to yourself, stop talking and start doing. Research has shown that telling somebody else your goal makes it a lot less likely that you actually achieve that goal. Because you get that good feeling. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But as soon as everybody goes and hypes up and go, wow, thank you, people clap for you, like on LinkedIn, people clap for you, Instagram, people put hearts, and you're like, oh man, I'm so loved up. And all that rubbish, you take them away. As soon as all that stuff's gone, you're less likely to actually go ahead and achieve that goal. If you want, watch a TED Talk by a guy called Derek Sivers, Sivers, Derek Sivers. Watch his very short TED Talk, watch it. Anyway, a lot of research around that topic. The key point here is I've learned is another reason for not telling other people your goal, which is one thing I've learned in my 30s, is you actually attract haters when you tell people your goal. People act like they're actually happy for you, but they are not. And that's because people are driven by scarcity. Big topic, but in simple terms, stop talking about your goal and start doing them instead. Then the final bonus point I've got is the things you look back on the most are the experiences that you allow yourself to have. This is such a personal point to me because, I'm a very, I love life, I love to share, I love to know that I'm living my best life, all those things. But when I look back across my 30s, the key points I keep going back to are the experiences. For example, Mary and I, my beautiful wife Mary and I, have traveled to 28 countries and counting. And I want to read them out to you real quick because I just love it. Here are the countries: Argentina, Benin, Barbados, Belgium, Brazil, Colombia, Croatia, Egypt, Ethiopia, France, Greece, Grenada, Ghana, Hungary, Indonesia, Italy, Kenya, Malaysia, Morocco, Monaco, Nigeria, Portugal, Poland, St. Lucia, Spain, Tanzania, USA, and of course, the UK. Okay? I love that because I've got a little list on my phone, and every year I go somewhere and I make beautiful memories with my family, with my loved ones. I document it here because it has been always my dream, because it was a big stage of my life where I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't travel, due to restrictions. I didn't have my residency sorted out. There's so many things that held me back. So for you, I'm saying here in your 30s, allow yourself to have those experiences because, and you have to achieve that balance. This, for me, is what financial joy means. It's a big part of what financial joy means. It's about achieving that balance between pursuing our financial goals and living for today, enjoying our lives, prioritizing our well-being, and having fun too. Make sure you're doing exactly the same. One thing I never look back on or even worry about is my jobs. I could even have carried on. There are so many other points we talked about around career, my career direction. I never look back and think to myself, wow, like I regret this for this job, I regret that. Nah, like I'm so happy I took risks, like I quit my career, like built my career for 14 years, worked my way up to sea level and all that. And I quit it. I left it all and moved on and did something else. And I think that bravery continues to pay, because I'm much more likely to want to pursue the things that I want to do with my life rather than live in fear and be restricted by it and be held back by it. Anyway, I want to hear from you in the comments. What life lessons have you learned in your 30s? Jump in the comments and let us know. And if you really enjoyed this video, hey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this video with one other person who you think should be learning these life lessons in their 30s as well. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. And as always, in all things, be thankful and seek joy. Take care. Bye for now.